It's been a long time since I've played the multiplayer in COD. At least if you go by the golden age era of the COD franchise, everything from Modern Warfare 1 all the way to Black Ops 2, I loved every second of. They had great campaigns, side content, and multiplayer that was like crack cocaine in the FPS format at the time. It was casual and fun, toxic sometimes, especially during the prime years of MW2 lobbies, but it was still some of my fondest multiplayer gaming memories. Afterwards though, the series would go into a dark age period starting with Ghosts. While Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare were good in my opinion, the others definitely left a lot to be desired, and it wouldn't be until MW 2019 that things would finally turn around. It reinvigorated the gameplay and created a fantastic blend of feeling somewhat tactical, but also arcadey at the same time. It was the best COD that I had played since Black Ops 2, which is arguably the best Call of Duty in my opinion. It's a franchise that's loved and hated, which is a burden that a lot of popular games seem to share. In between those cracks though, we do sometimes see games that take inspiration to the point where they play almost the same. One other game was called Iron Sight, which is another criminally underrated multiplayer shooter that plays a lot like the classic CODs, most notably Black Ops 2. It has loadouts, kill streaks, and perks, and it was a free-to-play alternative that was there when Call of Duty Online wasn't. Rest in peace, by the way. While the free-to-play alternatives to COD aren't anywhere near as popular, it's good that the series is facing alternatives, especially for those that are sick of the state of COD and where it is now thanks to the recent entries like Vanguard and the new Modern Warfare 2. Speaking of alternatives, we have another COD clone that I've recently taken a look at, and it's something that I found myself enjoying quite a bit. It does what Iron Sight does, but instead of it being like the classic CODs, it's more like MW 2019 but with the slide cancelling and the jumping. This is Combat Master. Combat Master is a MW 2019 inspired clone made by Alpha Bravo, a small team of people that wanted to essentially recreate the magic of MW 2019's fast-paced multiplayer experience but within a mobile environment. The mobile scene itself is something that has been exploding for quite a few years already. Games like COD Mobile, PUBG Mobile, and Garena Free Fire are insanely popular, have a growing esports scene that's getting bigger every year, and the best part is, it's a highly accessible market since almost everyone has a phone and can play these games. Combat Master was also one of those games too, but had a smaller foundation due to it being made by a couple of people. What was there in the beginning though was quite impressive. I was surprised when I first saw it on mobile because in the past, mobile games were often clunky in terms of movement with some exceptions of course, where they had to compensate for the touch-based control scheme of tablets and phones. Combat Master though looked very fluid and movement was pretty fast-paced in the same vein as MW 2019, but eventually though it would end up on PC, which is how I ended up playing it in the first place. It's one of those games where it does appear to be like a clone, which it is honestly, but can see the amount of passion drawn into them, thanks to the creative talents behind the studio. There are clones out there that are shameless rip-offs of existing games made by larger companies that are chasing after the biggest slice within the market. But games like Combat Master does have that foundation where it's made by people where you can tell that they genuinely loved the experience of MW 2019 like I did, and wanted to essentially recreate that magic, but for mobile devices and PCs that don't exactly rock the highest tier hardware today. Combat Master from a hardware standpoint is very much geared towards lower end PCs. Phones and tablets will generally not have an issue running this. If you can't run the latest MW that's coming out this year, that's okay because this game will accommodate for you, giving you an experience that's closer than anything else I've seen so far. It's not only low spec friendly, but the game is also very small in size. It's only like around a gig. That's about it. Whereas the recent Call of Duty games on top of Warzone is over 100 gigs, which is baffling. This game is quick to install, quick to start, and quick to run. When you first boot it up, you can immediately start playing matches, either with active players or bots. The addition of bots in this game is great because if the game ever gets to a state where no one is playing it anymore, then you can still get fairly well made bots to play with to help keep you busy with something fun and casual to play in the meantime. This helped me a great deal when I was dealing with a really bad connection, but still wanted some multiplayer experience to pass the time. You can click on play now to get matchmaked into a session with other people in a variety of game modes like Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Arms Race, which is pretty fun, Search and Destroy, and Combat Master. The game modes are pretty much in the same vein as their Call of Duty counterparts. Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch seem to be the more popular game modes, but you do sometimes still see Search and Destroy or even Arm Race sessions. You can create a private or a public lobby and start your own games. If you set it to private and immediately start playing, then the match will be filled with bots, whereas in public, players have the opportunity to join the ongoing session. Games are fairly quick and fast paced, and progression seems to work in offline as well, which is great because it enables you to unlock weapons, operators, and attachments in the event that your internet's not doing too well. In terms of connection though, from my experience, it's pretty well made. The experience is generally pretty consistent no matter your situation. You'll still be able to enjoy this game regardless and progress along with it. As I've already stated, the gameplay itself is very much a clone of MW 2019, where the aiming, the reloading, the moving, and the sliding is just about the same, but it is a bit snappier and is somewhat easier to play with. Movement is very fast paced, but is still somewhat clunky in terms of the animations. It doesn't have the same level of polish and fluidity, but it's understandable as to why. You'll just have to forgive the fact that this game is basically a low-spec version of MW 2019. As for the gameplay itself, it's pretty fun. Guns feel pretty good to use, but the sound isn't too great. It could get an overhaul where they're louder and make a bigger impact. The guns themselves feel pretty easy to handle, even the sniper rifles. You can run and gun with them, and scoping feels pretty seamless. Customization is fantastic too. It's very much like MW 2019 where you can modify your weapons in so many ways that they can become different guns entirely. It was one of my favorite things from the recent COD entries, and I'm glad that they implemented the same system. Now there are 3 different leagues in Combat Master. There's Premier, Master, and Hardcore. Premier takes away the slide cancelling and you have stamina. Master is the original experience of the game, and Hardcore adds a number of things like a body camera, limited sprint time, no player markers, and a 3x headshot multiplier. You die much quicker in this mode and the pacing is much slower. The body cam system does take some time to adjust to, but it is a good mode for those that want a slower paced experience and for those that hate slide cancelling. The game does have cosmetic packs that you can pay for, but they're quite cheap and you can get some pretty sick designs as well as some cool knives too if you're into that sort of thing. But ever since the game's release, the game has been in a perpetual Season 1 state, where the promise of a second season has been delayed over and over again, where it would feature not only more content, but even a battle royale mode similar to Warzone. Some people in the community have expressed their impatience regarding this matter, and have decided to move on to other games that are more active and have more frequent content updates. The studio, however, has been quite active as well, and has often given feedback to some of the channels that have covered the game already, as well as keeping tabs within the Discord community. It's the game's biggest issue so far, and the longer that it goes on, the more of a decline that this game will be heading towards. Which is a shame because for what it is, it's a very well made low spec alternative to MW 2019 that plays well, has some great customization, weapons, and sense of movement, has a great progression system that also works offline. It just simply needs more content on both the mobile and PC port. And for me personally, the sound has room for more improvement. What you see though is what you get here. I wouldn't say that this game is a replacement for the other CODs, but is rather a good alternative to them. That's definitely worth looking at. It's free, runs on most PCs without any issues, and doesn't take up much space at all. The game has a promising future, but it's really up to the team to see it through at this point. But hopefully Season 2 will be worth the wait, and I may even revisit it when it drops. But what's there is still really good and is worth having a go at. Thank you for watching.